Around 1 million Australians are currently living with a clinically diagnosed eating disorder, and many more are struggling with disordered eating, especially teenagers, which is about 1 in 3. So if you have found yourself watching someone that you love go through an eating disorder, you are not alone, although it feels like it. Today I have brought on my beautiful mum to chat about how she helps me through my eating disorder and share some of the things that we have learned along the way, which can hopefully help you. So if you're a parent or a sibling or a loved one of someone going through an eating disorder, this episode is for you. Welcome back to Unobsessed, and hello if you're new. My name is Ellie. I'm a fully recovered bulimic. I recovered about 8 years ago, and since then I've devoted most of my time to studying the science of human eating behavior so that I can essentially help as many people recover as possible. So welcome to Unobsessed, Mum.
Thanks, Elle. Great to be here.
You're welcome. So let's jump right in for parents and maybe family members who are just desperate to help people with that eating disorder. My first question for you was, when did you first suspect that I was struggling with disordered eating?
Well, it was a tough journey. So let me just say, if you're a loved one out there, it is a tough journey. The issue is that you were very good at hiding it. So it was hard to pick up. I didn't pick it up. It was only when you came and told me. I think looking back, there were a few red flags, which in retrospect I should have picked up on. So there were 3. You were obsessed with how you looked. Yeah. And I noticed that you looked in the mirror a lot, more than my other 2. You were critical of your body, and you were obsessed with exercise. So now I realise they were red flags, but at the time, because I knew nothing about disordered eating, they weren't red flags.
And that can be the trouble with disordered eating. I mean, I hid it most of my teenage years until I came to you and told you that I was ready to recover.
Yes.
I never had clinically diagnosed anorexia. I have had periods of being severely underweight, but my main struggle was with bulimia and binge eating disorder. And the problem is with those specific eating disorders, often the person can be within a lower weight range, but within a healthy weight range. So sometimes it's hard to tell. And I also, my bulimia started out with exercise bulimia. I remember that often, probably straight after we had eaten a meal or something, I would say that I was going out for a run or something like that.
If I knew about disordered eating, now I can look for the red flags, but when you don't know.
So that's very helpful for parents to be looking out for some of those signs, like, being very, like you mentioned, very critical of your body. Watch out for young teenagers, especially of things like exercising a lot. I know when I was a young teenager, I think I disguised some of my eating disorder behaviours as healthy. Like I was obsessed with being healthy. Like some other things to look out might be visiting the bathroom pretty soon after eating. Was there anything else?
I think a little bit of out of balance with food too. So trying different diets, and I'm going to be lactose free. Now I'm going to be sugar free. I thought it was trying to be healthy.
Yeah,
but
absolutely,
that's good advice, Elle. But I just want to say it's hard to have the red flags when you're not educated about disordered eating and it hasn't been in your family.
Yeah, 100%. What would you say to parents who feel like something might be wrong, but their child hasn't told them yet and they can't quite put their finger on it?
So it depends what kind of relationship you've got with your child, but I think you need to bring it up in a safe space. Think about how you can bring it up without judgment. But hopefully you've got that kind of open relationship, but definitely talk to them and ask the right questions.
And being honest enough to bring it up, because they might not be ready to tell you yet, but if they know that you've brought it up in a non-judgmental way, they might know, mum and dad are there for when I am ready to talk.
That's it.
So the next question I had was, what do you do when the person doesn't want help yet?
To be honest, we didn't go through this because the first time I found out about it was when you wanted help. But these are my thoughts. I think the important thing to do and I have helped a couple of parents who have been in this situation. I think it's really important to manage your emotions. So you'll feel very emotional, but in front of your child and teenager, you have to manage your emotions. However, you do need, as a parent or a loved one, you do need somewhere where you can vent and let your emotions out. I would suggest getting counselling so you can manage your anxiety, because it tends to not be a teenage anxiety issue. It tends to be a whole family anxiety issue. I think subtly dropping hints doesn't work. Saying any comments or any language around shame, body image, food. Really, you can only help them once they decide that they want help.
That's it. And is there anything that parents shouldn't say during this stage?
And I think so. I'm gonna. I'll go back. I think the other thing is, don't be shocked by any of their behaviour. So, you know, when a teenager can tell you something or you can see some of their behaviour, you'll be tempted to be really shocked. But instead of picking your jaw up off the floor, you need to stay calm and, again, manage your emotions so you can be a safe space and a space where they feel accepted and they'll come to you when they're ready to talk.
Especially with something like bulimia or binge eating disorder. I remember the first time I told you guys about it, I was so embarrassed and had so much shame. But you were such a safe place for me, Mum, that once I started that recovery journey, I felt, more often than not, I felt so confident telling you every time I had relapsed, every time I'd actually done that, because I knew you would be sad for me, but you weren't going to like judge me, you know?
And you have to educate the whole family.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't understand about disordered eating. So you have to educate, not only educate yourself, but you educate everyone that's around the table, everyone that's living in the same house.
That's right, because for so many parents, it might just be like, well, why can't you stop sticking your fingers down your throat? Like, it seems like such a silly behaviour. Or why can't you stop binge eating? Or why can't you stop restricting? But exactly what you're saying, it is important to educate the family on this can actually be a very addictive cycle. And even if one part of them wants to engage in it, but the other part of them desperately doesn't want to. What helped you support me once I was ready and I wanted to recover?
Okay, so the first thing I did was get educated, because I didn't know much about it. So there was a lot to learn about it. So I read books, I listened to podcasts, I went to counselling with you. I got educated about it myself and I educated my family. We also went to counselling, which was really good because, as I said, it can often be a family issue, not just a child issue. I was available if you needed me. So if you were, you spent a couple of years in Sydney, I was in Newcastle, so whenever you rang, whether it was in the middle of work or in a meeting, I was in a meeting or was it late at night, I always took the phone call because I know you needed to download. So it can be emotionally exhausting for the loved one, but I just thought, no, that you became my priority, helping you with healing. And then I remember one day we went to a doctor. I was shocked to realise that a lot of the medical world didn't understand about eating disorders, and they just thought it was a matter of, well, why don't you eat? So we went to the doctor one day, you're in a lot of pain, and the doctor didn't know what to do. She said, there's nothing we can do for you. So I remember walking out of the surgery thinking, we have to take responsibility ourselves. We have to do this ourselves. So that was when, we went to a naturopath, we went to a counsellor, psychologist. We found the right resource about intuitive eating, and I just found really good friends too that helped us. When you're in a lot of pain, you went to live with one of my friends that help you with bone broth and help you
me
learn
learn
how
nutrition.
to re-eat. We also made sure you had enough emotional support. So if Dad and I had to go away, sometimes you'd go and live.
Yeah.
You were living with us, but you go and see a friend or you go and stay with friends. So you needed safe emotional support.
Yeah, when you guys would
around
go
you.
away, I would like go and stay with with family friends or something. Yeah.
So I think trying to make meal times enjoyable too, they can be very frustrating, but
Yeah, meal times are really important. And something I would say is if you're not a family that does meal times together and you have a family member who's struggling with disordered eating, I would say beginning that practice of eating together is so important because, as you're probably aware, eating disorders are very secretive and you do need that support, especially with something like restriction and anorexia, of eating with other people. But I felt that you guys were so present and supportive to me. And it is like eating disorder journeys can be so isolating and lonely because of what you were hinting at. Like, again, if the person that you're supporting is open to it, I would absolutely encourage going to a couple of GP counselling or psychology appointments with them. I think that's the most supported I ever felt was when you were with me in the room sitting with the psychologist and I could maybe say things in front of with the psychologist there that I wasn't as brave to say when she wasn't there. So definitely get along to some appointments with them if they're open to that. And the other thing, in terms of resources, exactly like you said, the medical field wants to help, but there is also such a lack of understanding about eating disorders unless a medical professional often has experienced it themselves. So in my recovery journey, I relapsed, or probably with my bulimia, I was relapsing daily, every second day, even though I was trying to get better. So we had to it took us 4 years of trying different approaches, trying a different counsellor, trying a different GP, trying a different psychologist, trying a nutritionist, just because I could not find the help that I needed to get myself out of that cycle. And actually it was even though the different health professionals gave us valuable things, eventually it was actually a book that stopped my bulimia. So a book I would suggest specifically for bulimia and binge eating disorder is a book by Katherine Hanson called Brain Over Binge. That was just a game changer for me. And it was the final thing that completely stopped my eating disorder behaviour. Is there any other resources you can think of?
no, I think you're right. I think the loved one needs their own support, so they're giving out emotionally as well. So I had friends that I could talk to, and I've got a faith, so I've got a friend that I could pray with. I think the other thing is cooperating with the person that's got an eating disorder. Like sometimes you'd say, Mum, I can't have any chocolate in the house, or can you not cook that carrot cake, or can we cook date loaf, or can we have granola? So I just cooperate with whatever stage you were going through.
So my next question is, in terms of shifting family language around food and body image, were there things you realised you had to change in your own language or thinking once we started this eating disorder journey?
Yes, there was. And I think it's really important if the communication can be so open that the one with the eating disorder can speak up and say, this isn't working for me, or we can change our language, because when you haven't got a disordered eating issue, you don't know. Yeah, you don't know what the triggers are. I wasn't living in your head. I think stop complimenting on how people look, stop talking about body image, stop talking about diet and losing weight, get rid of all that language. Again, educate the family so they don't talk about any of that language, and talk more about health. And
yes,
I think change the language about identity too, because we so often can think we are what we look like, or we are our weight. So just finding other things to speak in to you. So I don't love you. No, I love you no matter what weight you are, or no matter what you're eating. I love you for who you are.
That's so important, because and again, I never would blame our family for my eating disorder. if you haven't heard my story, we will link it and you can hear the full thing. But I was, in a dancing and acting environment where that was, being a thin body was kind of encouraged. But definitely, like, our family, I grew up in a family where when I was little, our family would make lots of fat jokes. Our family would comment on their bodies a lot. You never used to diet or anything, which was good. But I remember, like, being little and you used to comment, say lots of critical things about your neck or your skin or your body. And I remember, because you're naturally a smaller woman, like when I was little, I would hear you talk about that, like how proud you were to be like a thin woman. And again, I'm not blaming you, but I internalized this message that, like, oh, to be like considered beautiful or better or successful, like I have to be thin, like putting on weight is the worst possible thing that could happen. And I'm saying that now because when I was in eating disorder recovery, I was honest and I brought all those things up with you. But you and the family were so good. Like, I mean, maybe it took a little while, but you guys definitely changed your language. Everybody stopped making fat jokes. Everybody stopped talking about body shape and weight. So that was something that was really helpful for me. Like, we all changed together to start exactly what you're saying, to start valuing health over weight and shape.
No, that's it. And it was really good you brought it up and educated us.
Absolutely. So next question, the bad parent myth. Let's talk about guilt. What would you say to parents who maybe are blaming themselves for their child's eating disorder?
Yeah, so I did have guilt, especially when you told me about those things, and I realised I'd rejected my body too. So you know, if you're going to reject your own body, you can't expect your kids to have a healthy body image. So I had to do my own process. So I think I did feel guilty at the time, but we were putting so much energy into getting you healthy that I kind of had to put that to a side and not wallow in that. So I had to forgive myself. I had to apologise to you, and decide to change my behaviour and my language and let you continue to speak up. So if we said anything that triggered you or took you backwards, I think for me, I didn't have perfect parents either. And I realised that parents aren't perfect. And I think if you keep that regret and keep beating yourself up, it makes matters worse because you're just carrying a whole lot of baggage yourself. So I think you have to address it, change your behaviour, apologise, forgive yourself and move on. Yeah, totally. And to reinforce, it's not... Like you're saying, the parent might be contributing to that culture, but it's not the parent's fault. The result of like this epidemic of eating disorders right now is a result of culture, social media, all those things. So I think that's so beautiful that you're saying like own your side of the street, change your behavior, maybe apologize for anything that you need to take responsibility for. I think what you've done in the past, you can't change. No. You know, you can have a conversation, but then you've got to work on the present. What can I do in the present to bring healing to the family and to the child? And what an opportunity for you as a parent or a loved one to maybe look at yourself and think, okay, do I believe that message that my value is in how I look or my weight? Like, do I believe that on any level? Because if I do, that message is going to be seeping out. That's it. And Mum, you obviously did such an amazing journey with that too, because my mother used to be very insecure about your neck and your skin. And I don't think, I got married about 6 months ago, and my mum wore a boob tube dress. You had your shoulders out, and I hadn't seen you show your shoulders or your neck for about 2 decades or something. So like have you had body image healing as well, do you think, through this journey? Yeah, definitely. And I think you just realise you've only got one body, you've got to look after it. No one's body's perfect, so you have to be comfortable in your own skin. and we're body, soul, spirit, and you have to learn to love yourself. And so you have to learn to, your soul and your spirit have to learn to accept and love your body and not reject part of who you are.
For parents who are grieving, what advice would you give to a parent who feels hopeless, like their child isn't making progress?
Yeah, so the one thing you have to do is feel empowered. You are empowered. You can do something. So I think it's really important to find a support system. Might find a couple of friends that you can talk to that have done the journey. That's always helped me in my life, finding other friends or mums that have done the journey. I think get counselling yourself. Go to talk to a psychologist so they can help you understand what's going on. Change your language. Get your own friend support. I've talked about that. Get educated. And I did a couple of other visual things. I got a photo of you dancing at a wedding when you were very healthy and enjoying life, and I put it up in my bathroom. And so every time I went into the bathroom, I could see this photo of you healthy, enjoying life, and it gave me a visual of what I was hoping for and what I knew would one day happen. So I kept hope before my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are going to have, there is going to be moments when your child, again, or loved one is feeling hopeless because they're feeling like their recovery or what they're trying just is not working. But like Mum said, in front of them, don't give up hope. Like, I think that was something you were good at. Like, sometimes you would cry with me and you would grieve with me, but I never felt like my mum didn't have hope that I was going to get better. Keep hope for them, because eating disorder recovery is possible. Actually, most people with disordered eating eventually do recover. I'm not sure what the statistic is on that, but most do recover. And I was a hopeless case. So if I can recover, anybody can. You just have to keep, do not give up hope. Just keep trying things. I think on average, they say it takes about 10 years to recover fully from an eating disorder. It took me 4 years to recover once I started that journey. But don't hang your hopes on like a number. Everybody's journey is individual, and just keep trying things until the right thing is going to click with your loved one.
It's the long haul. It's not going to be fixed in 2 weeks. You have to have patience, and it's the long haul, walking alongside the one that's got the eating disorder and not getting frustrated or distraught or disgusted at some of the stuff. That's why you need your own support system and be a safe place for them to keep landing.
100%. Okay, and we're going to finish with just a few quicker questions that we're going to answer, just because I did some research and these are really common questions that are asked by loved ones and parents. So the first one is, what do I do when they refuse to eat?
Yeah, so you don't force them to eat. You just keep enjoying them, stay at the table, have conversation.
I think with something like anorexia, where the weight is severely low, let me say, anorexia is a very serious condition, so you absolutely need supervision and help for a disorder like that. If your child has or loved one has anorexia, there needs to be a GP involved, there needs to be a psychologist involved. And in terms of eating, do follow the GP's advice, because anorexia, unfortunately, is life-threatening. So that's where I would say that answer for me would be a little bit different with something like bulimia, binge eating disorder, with the forcing, to something like anorexia. But do follow your GP and your psychologist's advice, because if your child does not want to eat and you say to them, okay, you don't have to eat this meal, you're actually feeding the eating disorder. You're actually feeding that part of their brain. Take your psychologist's advice on that one. But as much as possible, you need to recognize that this is really hard. I think something that parents and loved ones don't understand, and we were talking about this last week, is when you have an eating disorder, for me at least, the fear of gaining weight was worse than the fear of death. So it's important for a loved one to understand that that's how intense the fear of eating can be. So as much as possible, empathize with that pain, recognize it, validate that it is really painful for them to have to eat that food. But at the end of the day, they do have to eat. They have to eat that meal, because when they're not eating, they're not going to be thinking clearly to even approach recovery. So definitely follow your GP's advice on that one. And one thing I would want to add when it comes to anorexia, if maybe someone with anorexia is watching this, or again, a parent or loved one with someone specifically with anorexia, is to get better from anorexia, you have to start recovery whilst you're scared. Your worst fear is gaining weight, but if you wait until that fear is gone to start recovery, you will never start recovery. So again, for a parent or a loved one, as much as possible, forcing to them, yes, this is scary. And yes, we have to start recovery whilst it's scary, because it's almost like exposure therapy. It's not till later on when they've gained weight and they're starting to get that clear thinking back, because they literally have fuel in that for their minds, that they start to actually feel a bit better about their bodies. Okay, other question. What do I say when they say they feel fat or look disgusting?
So I think it's best not to talk about how they look, but so rather than say you look beautiful, you say you are beautiful. And I don't agree with that. I think you are a beautiful person.
Yeah.
So keep speaking into who they are, rather than appearance.
100%. And reinforcing how much the family, how much everyone in their world loves them.
Yes.
For everything other than the way that they look.
That's
and they
exactly
could
right.
put on any amount of weight and it wouldn't make people think less of them.
Yeah, you don't treat them any differently.
No, not at all. And that one can be tricky, because obviously the person desperately wants validation, desperately wants you to tell them, no, you are thin, wants you to validate them. But yeah, like you said, you want to tell them that they are beautiful, they're a beautiful person, but you don't want to constantly, again, when you're constantly commenting on their weight, no, you are thin, you are beautiful, you're feeding the eating disorder.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter how you look or what weight you are, I will always love you, and you give them a hug.
Yeah. Second last question. Am I allowed to talk about my own weight or food habits?
No diet talk, no weight talk, no appearance talk, no comparison talk, and you just keep celebrating the small wins too along the way.
Beautiful. Finally, what if they relapse? How should I react? Does it mean that everything is failing?
So I think expect relapse. I think the journey to healing is often 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's what it is. It's a journey. It's not an event. So you'll feel like being discouraged and being disappointed, but again, keep celebrating the small wins and being grateful for the small wins. Have your own support crew so they can be encouraging you. So, because you don't want the person that's got the eating disorder to see you lose hope.
Yeah, really important.
So just expect it. You have to be patient. As Elle said, I've heard it's a 7-year journey, but she's saying it's a 10-year journey. But it's worth it walking alongside them, and be kind to yourself as well, because you'll be, it takes emotional energy to walk alongside someone with an eating disorder, so you need to be kind to yourself.
Yeah, 100% agree. And relapse was absolutely a part of my journey. I relapsed until I was just suddenly better. And but it was funny, because everything that I learned in my recovery journey, even though it didn't fully take the eating disorder away, once I suddenly recovered, all of that was helpful. I remember a psychologist telling me a really helpful analogy when I couldn't stop relapsing. She was like, have you ever walked past or driven past a building site? You drive past it every day and you think, what are they doing? It just, after 4 years, it still looks like rubble. Are they achieving anything? Until one day you drive past and it's just up and you think, oh my gosh, when did that go up? I think recovery can be a lot like that. So do you have any final words for loved ones who have someone that's suffering in their world with an eating disorder right now?
Look, it's painful. It's hard. First of all, you don't know what you're dealing with. But I think as parents, all our kids go through different pain, different suffering. And for me, it's always enlarged my world, enlarged myself as a person. It gives you more compassion for people that go through different issues. So, yeah, find a really good support crew and you'll do it. You'll be okay and they will be okay and you'll come through.
Yes, absolutely. Do not give up. Full recovery is possible. We have both seen that. We've seen it for other people as well. We 100% believe that. So we really hope that this was helpful for you. And if you would like to hear more about my story and more content like this, like and subscribe. Thank you guys.
Thanks.